Hello everybody and welcome to all. So this is our live launch of our Southwest Mayo Development Company Strategic Plan 2021 to 2027. Invitations to this live event were sent to all our community connections, our current and former board members, our stakeholders, partners across the county and wider, our colleague local development organisations across the country, local and national elected public representatives, councillors, senators and TDs, and also the link was published on our Facebook earlier. It's a pity that we have to be in this format. This launch would merit a full hall in a community centre somewhere, but unfortunately we cannot do that. So due to the format, there isn't an opportunity really to interact live, but I would like to draw your attention to our email, Twitter and Facebook details that are on the slides. And for anyone who is on Twitter, it would be great if you could use the hashtag SWMDC 2027 to highlight the launch of our new strategic plan. I propose to do this in a fairly quick time and keep it fairly short and snappy. So I will be going through a series of slides, and I suppose the first question I want to ask is, why do we need a plan? So there needs to be practical reasons for putting a plan in place, and this plan is a result of 3 years' work, really, over with a considerable amount of input from our staff and board members. And it has been very hard to progress over the last year as well because of the inability to have public meetings and so on. But the purposes are there on our slide, and we need a plan to renew our focus and to remind us all why we exist and to showcase the really incredible value and the impact of the local development sector. We need to renew and refresh our connections to the community. We need to be able to respond better to a quickly changing world. We have seen so many changes, and they are getting more rapid: migration, climate change, technology development, changes in society and demographics. We need to maintain, to improve and grow our company so that we're more sustainable. And we have to ensure that our governance continues to be able to meet the challenges of change. And of course, we need to ensure secure, meaningful employment for all our staff. So within our plan, there is a lot of European, national, county and different policy references, up to and including the most recent launch of our Rural Future, which was only launched last week. And there are links of that in our plan that will be available online. Our company is a registered charity, and I would like to think that this launch will help us to showcase the huge value and impact of the charity and community and voluntary sector. So much of what we take for granted across our country in the community sphere comes from the charity, community and voluntary sector. And changes to our world, I suppose, we have to think about changes to our world that they're not happening external to us either, and that we should not be just observers, but we do have an opportunity, to have some influence on change and how they happen locally. And to do that effectively requires us to have structures through which we can influence, through which we can act, and to have a strategic view. And that's where I believe organizations like ours fits in. So as everybody that's watching knows, the work that we do runs through programs. But those programs are in 3 main core areas, and they are covered there by the circles on the screen. So we have rural economic and enterprise development, inclusion, and social employment. So, but the 3 circles also illustrate the interdependence and interconnectedness of all of the activities and programs that we have. And we have to be able to deliver our programs in a way that are interconnected, that there are synergies between those programs. They don't operate in silos, and we have to work hard to develop synergies among our programs. We have seen increasing bureaucracy and the programs themselves, but we have to try and avoid the programs being the work. And the programs support a total of about 45 full-time equivalents in terms of high quality jobs in rural Ireland, rural Mayo. And in addition to that, there are approximately 450 places on community employment, rural social scheme and TOOT. So this organisation is a significant enterprise and employer in its own right within rural Mayo. So the map that you see there illustrates where we are, and we have our different schemes, different programs operating across all of the south of County Mayo, as you can see there. And but But as people may be aware, the areas of operation for our programs do not coincide. We do not have exactly the same area of operation for the various programs within County Mayo. There are historical reasons for this, but for example, Newport, where our company office is, we don't deliver the social inclusion program, the SICAP program in Newport, even though that's where our company office is. East Mayo, Ballyhonus and Charlestown, we deal with SICAP in those areas, but we do not have the Rural Social Scheme, TOOS and Leader in those areas. So this is a complex challenge, and one of our aims in the future should be to achieve a better level of commonality of areas of operation among our programs. We want to develop synergies among the programs, and it's much more difficult to do so when the areas aren't the same as they are here. In addition to those programs within County Mayo, we do operate, for example, the Syrian Resettlement Program covers the whole of County Mayo. Our Welcoming and Including New Communities is an all of County Mayo program, and we are in collaboration with the Western Regional Drugs and Alcohol Task Force operating in all of Mayo and part of County Roscommon, while the Social Farming Initiative, which we are responsible for in the whole west region of Mayo, Roscommon and Galway. I think it's important to reflect briefly how we work, or how we try to do our work. And I've put up there, I suppose, what are the leader features which go right back to the Pilot Leader program. This company was established 30 years ago to deliver a Pilot Leader program, which was to be based on those 7 features. And we will try and maintain those 7 features while we continue to do our work. There are cliches abound in the area in which we operate. I suppose those, a community development approach, a bottom-up development approach. These are very overused and often misunderstood phrases in our sphere of work. But these approaches that we are talking about here, combined with our extensive experience and the specialist knowledge that the company has built up over time, and our capacity to deliver locally, to give one-to-one advice, support and guidance, and to operate across programs, and to put new and pilot initiatives in place. These are very significant in what we want to do and in terms of how we do our work. So heretofore, I suppose I've just dealt with some of the background to the company and how we are and where we are and how we come to be. And the remainder of my presentation this morning or today is going to relate to the structure of our plan, which is, as you can see on the screen here now, based on a cascade from high-level goals, each of which have a number of objectives, and actions under the objectives, which delivers outputs and outcomes. Covering all of that is a structure which has monitoring and evaluation to see how we're progressing with our plan and whether we are achieving what we set out to achieve. Each of those actions are intended to be SMART, that is to say, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound, so that we can put an achievement on them and mark our progress as we go through. So the 5 high-level goals, there are 5 high-level goals that we've identified as covering the work that we do. And those 5 high-level goals are, as you can see here. So these are, I suppose, core to our plan. And just to read through them, the first one, sustaining South West Mayo Development Company and maintaining excellent governance, which will lead to a sustainable and viable community-owned representative company. The point I would make about that particular goal is that if we do not achieve that, then all of the others will not be achieved either. The second one, strengthening our communities. So with the intention to lead to thriving communities which can respond meaningfully to local issues and needs. The third goal, to stimulate enterprise and economic development, leading to enterprises and business strengthened and expanded in our communities. Our fourth goal, promoting lifelong learning and personal development, leading to increased uptake of lifelong learning opportunities across all communities. And finally, our fifth goal, which is developing positive climate, landscape and environmental actions. This is a cross-cutting action, really, which influences all our work, or should influence all our work, and will influence all our work, which will lead to increased environmentally sustainable practices across our communities. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to take these one by one. So if we take the first goal, sustaining our company and maintaining excellent governance. This year, our company is 30 years in existence. And 30 years is a significant length of time in the context of our country, in the context of independence. It's 30% of the lifetime of our independent state. So this and similar organisations are meeting needs in our country's services and supports to citizens and communities for quite a long time, both in terms of the work we do and how we do our work. And the way we do this and the way we are constituted, which is a participative democracy, these are very important always and continue to be important in terms of the work that we do. Now, the business model of local development companies such as South West Native Development Company has to evolve and develop. The company has survived, and I use that word advisedly, for 30 years on a series of short to medium term contracts for programs which in many cases will pay our bills, but which we never know as a company whether they will be renewed or continued. All of this has been within an uneven, wider policy and political environment. We have gone through phases of time when partnership and local development sector was considered to be a vital cog in the state's addressing of disadvantage in rural development, and we've also had times when our existence was under threat. In that context, we are hugely encouraged by the comments recently by Minister Heather Humphreys when she launched our Rural Future, in which she stated that local development companies are essential in this rollout. So we look forward to fulfilling that essential role. The upcoming next round of youth funding and the changes arising from COVID, climate and environmental pressures, changing demographics, all point to a need to a stronger, more adaptable and more secure organisation. We're a company limited by guarantee and a registered charity. But who are the owners of South West Mayo Development Company? And the answer to that is that it's owned by the communities in the areas that we support. The founders of this company were visionary and imaginative community people and representatives of communities across the south and west of the county: Westport, Ballinrobe, Louisburgh, Castlebar, Newport, Ball, Ballintubber, Carnacon, and agencies such as Teagasc, the county development team, which was the predecessor of the local enterprise office and the community sector in Mayo County Council. Fáilte Ireland, FÁS, again, which has ceased to be. Mayo VEC, which is now incorporated into the Education and Training Board. Those were the founders of our company, and the objectives at that time and under this goal, our objectives include to re-establish and rebuilding our links to the communities. One of the plan outcomes is to have strengthened communities, strengthened governance and strengthened membership developed from communities of place and interest. When we were formed, we had a community affiliation membership process. This was discontinued when the County Community Forum was established and its successor, which is the Public Participation Network. But one of our intentions within this strategic plan is to re-establish a new community network of affiliated community organisations, which will be the base for community representation on our board in the future. This will involve inviting community organisations to contribute a modest fee to become voluntary affiliates of this company. A process for this is already planned, and we will be in contact with all of the community groups we currently work with within a short time to explain this. But in case there's any doubt, there will not be any connection between affiliation and who we work with. We work with every organisation within our areas of operation regardless. Also in 2019, we changed our company constitution to enable more flexibility in how we can constitute our board. So we now have an option to co-opt new members with specific expertise onto our board. The second strategic goal of our strategic plan is to strengthen our communities. And pretty much all of the work that we do involves community. It's the biggest and most comprehensive focus of the work we do. And communities vary widely. There's communities of place, communities of interest, communities of disadvantage, communities with specific interests, isolated communities. But I don't think that there's any community in the South West Mayo area that where we do not impact in one way or another. All of our programs have the potential to support communities with differing needs at different times. I could take a random example of a leader-funded community centre, which has within it a SICAP-supported social enterprise project. And that could be staffed in part by community employment, rural social scheme or TOOS participants. That social enterprise might be developing tourism trails which will be supported by a rural recreation officer. So there's a wraparound level of support available through our company, which we want to avail of. I want communities to avail of and people to avail of. And I think the understanding that those, to go back to the graphic with the 3 circles, to understand that our programs are interconnected and interlinked is something that's very important for people to understand who we work with. So the community sector, really we're talking about building capacity. And if I could draw attention back again to that graphic, in the middle of that graphic was animation and capacity building. So whether it's on the rural development side, on the inclusion side, on the activation, on the social employment side, the core of our work is animation and capacity building. And the most important thing that we do is being out there and working with communities to enable them to be better, to increase their capacity, to improve their capacity, whether it's an individual or a community group. That is where we have, I believe, a strategic advantage, our unique selling point, to build community capacity. Our third goal within our strategic plan is stimulating enterprise and economic development. Local development companies have a very significant role in supporting enterprise, business and economic activity. The first LEADER program had a huge enterprise focus. Over time, LEADER has evolved more of a community focus than an enterprise focus. But having said that, the current LEADER program, up to 40% of the current LEADER program, has been and is devoted to enterprise. Also, a large share of the work that we do under the social inclusion program, under our SICAP program, is supporting new enterprises in association with the Department of Employment and Social Protection through the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance. Under our walk scheme, there are over 200 landowners supported through the walk scheme for the maintenance of tourism trails. Social enterprise is an area which is increasing in importance and recognition. Social enterprises are businesses where the core objective is to achieve a social, societal or environmental impact. Like other businesses, social enterprises trade in goods and services on an ongoing basis, but any surpluses generated are reinvested to achieve a social impact. And local development companies, which are in and of themselves social enterprises, are best placed to support social enterprises. The National Social Enterprise Policy for Ireland is referenced in this plan. Under the recently announced Our Rural Future, remote working was highlighted in a very big way. And a big part of the emergence from COVID-19 will be how work is organised in the future. The fact that we are doing this launch in this fashion illustrates that. This recent rural development policy puts a significant emphasis on remote working, and we believe that we are very well placed to support this, because again, when you think about social enterprise and community and enterprise in general, remote working links community and enterprise. I can move on to the fourth goal, which is promoting lifelong learning and personal development. I've put in a quote there from our plan, which I think is extremely important and something that we maybe overlook at times. Education and learning are key factors which contribute to a more equitable society, as well as personal, social and economic well-being. Everybody benefits by education, but not everybody has equal chances when it comes to education. And by us focusing on lifelong learning, it enables us to support individuals where they are at any given time, so that people can improve their life chances and experiences. Education is essential across many spheres. If you're looking at a new business startup, people need education. An essential part of education is building up opportunities and facilities for digital infrastructure, digital remote learning, blended learning. What we're doing now, we didn't know how to do what we're doing now a year ago. Truth be told, we didn't know what we were doing now a week ago, but we're doing it now. And everybody, one way or another, have learned a lot in terms of this online space in which we have great resources now built up, and we have recent investments through the funding for mitigation against educational disadvantage through Solace and the Mayo Leitrim Education and Training Board, and through the Department of Rural and Community Development funding for Foundation for Life. Digital poverty is a word that has emerged, and we initiated a laptop loan scheme last year, which was again, I suppose, spurred on by COVID-19 and motivated so that people could learn and use online resources. There's a huge growth in digital learning, and we have to be able to participate in digital learning in much the same way as people are participating and attending this presentation now. We have within our lifelong learning and personal development a pilot initiative, Foundation for Life, which is a model for working with young people who are not in education, employment and training. And we are working on that program with our partners, with the Western Regional Drugs and Alcohol Task Force, the HSE, the Local Employment Service, Mayo County Council, Mayo Sports Partnership, Mayo Sligo Leitrim Education and Training Board, among others. So lifelong learning is a key element of what we do across the board it hits in SICAP, it hits in the RSS and TUS and CE, and the role that we have in enabling education through bringing education to people who are otherwise disconnected is an extremely important role that we want to continue to be able to do. Our final goal, developing positive climate, landscape and environmental actions. So this is, as I said earlier on, a cross-cutting goal, and it influences the nature of actions under every other goal. We've seen developments in a modest way locally, even through the work of the company. There have been considerable changes, for example, in the work that through the Rural Social Scheme, community employment and TUS do in respective tidy towns. Grass isn't cut to the same extent. There are more areas let grow on to support wildlife. We are reducing and trying to eliminate the use of chemicals in terms of weed control for flower beds and so on. Tidy towns themselves and the objectives of tidy towns has changed very considerably. There's a very different emphasis now. It's much more on sustaining and developing wildlife habitats. And community plans for the Rural Social Scheme and TUS will have an ever-changing focus on more sustainable activities and processes locally. Even internally, through companies, and again over the last year, through the imposition of COVID restrictions, office use and travel, there has been an effect there in terms of environmental advantages. And finally, I suppose, as a company, we will continue to pursue environment-focused programs and resources which are within our purview. It is an area that the company is very well placed to address with our community-led local development approach. We have made attempts in this area before, and we haven't been successful. Locally led agri-environment schemes, LIFE, which is a European-funded environment program. We believe these are very justifiable programs, and both developmentally and economically, if they can be justified within our company, those are areas that we will be pursuing with partners as relevant. That covers the 5 areas that our strategic plan proposes to cover and that the company will be involved in up until 2027. And just to make some comments with regard to its implementation, how we'll monitor and evaluate our progress through the plan. As we saw earlier on, we have a cascade of goals, each of which have key performance indicators, and we can measure the achievement of those. We'll be looking at a half-yearly review of progress, which will start in October 2021. This is an ongoing process with measurements, records of our achievements, and this will help us to maintain our focus and to tie back what we do into our specific goals and objectives and actions, and every action that any staff member, any board, any decision that's made by the company can be tied back to one of the or more of the objectives and goals that we are setting out in our strategic plan. And hopefully in 2001 we'll be able to start that and do that in person. It'll be great to be able to get to that point. So in conclusion, we're looking here at a new chapter in our company's evolution or development. We believe it's an ambitious plan that we are striving to make a difference within our area for our communities and for our people that we work for and work with. Everybody associated with the company, board, staff, our community, affiliates, our partners, we all have a role in helping making this work. We believe that there's a strong opportunity to build here within our local areas and communities. You know, I regret that the format doesn't allow us really feedback Q&A, but as I said earlier on, all our staff will be glad to provide clarification and direct you to where you can get an answer to any query you may have. And as I said also, please feel free to comment on our social media and the links that are on our slides as that have been on my slides as I go along through this. You can email us at info@southmayo.com. I want to conclude by thanking everybody for their attendance. It's a pity we cannot be more interactive. I hope people found it useful and stimulating. And just as I sign off, can I encourage everybody to just continue to stay safe and attend to public health guidelines for a few weeks more and stay safe. Thanks very much.